Hello, welcome back to Being Black with Camille Smith, and today we are welcoming Dayo. If you are new here, please take time to subscribe, like, or download depending on the streaming platform that you're on. I would deeply appreciate if you left an actual podcast rating. But again, we are welcoming Dayo. She's a Nigerian American woman located in Houston, Texas. She's a 2020 graduate of Agnes Scott College, a small liberal arts women's college in Decatur, Georgia. And there she studied business management. She has been working her entire life to pursue a career in law and will be attending Berkeley Law School in fall of 2021 with the hopes of specializing in entertainment law. I'm fangirling because Dayo has an Instagram that we will talk about later in the episode, and I actually found it. I feel like I found so much during quarantine, but I found your Instagram during quarantine, and I was so incredibly infatuated with it because I love learning more about myself, and I feel that I've been able to learn more about myself, not only through just taking the actual test that we'll talk about, but also just seeing your posts on a regular basis. So I'm so excited. And Dayo, without further ado, what does being Black mean to you?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm just glad to be here, to be honest. I'm just glad to be here, glad to be talking about this. It's such a good topic. And I like that you're looking at Blackness from different perspectives because Blackness is not a monolith. And so I think this podcast is the personification of that. Blackness is a full experience. And so the reason why I say that is because I'm Nigerian American, so I don't quote unquote fit into what people typically think of when they think of Black Americans. I was told when I was young that I wasn't Black by other Black people. So it took me a journey to grow from that. So for me, what it means to be Black is the diversity. It doesn't there's no one definition of Blackness to me because I've experienced Blackness in my Nigerianness. I think even people who are Jamaican, people who are, Ethiopian, we all have our own different forms of Blackness and they're all valid and beautiful forms of Blackness. And so I guess for me, what it means to be Black for me is just embracing that diversity. So yeah.
I love that. And then when was the first time that you found out that you were Black? Do you have a good concept of when that was?
Yeah, college. So before, I said before, people told me people told me you're not Black, you're Nigerian, you are other, and so I went through my middle school, high school thinking or knowing rather and believing and internalizing that you're Nigerian, you're not. Someone calls you Black, correct them, because you're clearly, people have told you that you're not. So I'm like, oh no, I'm Nigerian American. And so when I got to college, I was taking just for fun, taking a couple Africana study classes, just to learn about where I come from, who I am. And it was those classes that reminded me no, we're all one big happy family. Why did I allow that little kids, we were children, we didn't know what we were saying, to kind of form my identity almost. And so I think when I got to college and I took those classes, I was like, oh, so this whole time I'm thinking that I'm other when I'm really a part of this big family of Blackness. And so yeah, I think that's kind of my story of how I found out, oh, I am Black and I'm Nigerian. It's a both and. It's not a or, it's a and. I'm both. I'm Nigerian American and I'm Black. I'm Black. I'm not Black American, but I'm Black in my own right and in my own way. So yeah.
And then talk a little about growing up in your area. How was it growing up middle school and high school? People were telling you that you weren't Black. What area were you in? The type of people that you were surrounded by, things of that nature.
Right. So middle school, I went to a charter school. I went to KIPP. So KIPP is this KIPP, there's KIPPs all over the US, but my KIPP in particular had a bunch of Black students, Black American students, and Hispanic students. And so that was what I was around, and a lot of Nigerian students as well. So that's what I was around. All my friends were Black, if they were Black Americans. I had maybe one Nigerian friend, maybe one or two. So that kind of informed a lot of who I thought I was. And then high school, I had mostly because of being told, what I was told, I was like, oh, well, I guess I just hang out with my Nigerian friends. And so in high school, I only had Nigerian friends. I didn't really have any Black American friends. And if I did, they were more acquaintances. We had a class together. It wasn't really oh, let's go out to movies together outside of class. And so, yeah, my high school experience made me stick with my people and my tribe, quote unquote. And I just had Nigerian friends. And then college, kind of allowed me to open that branch up really, really big. I don't think I have any Nigerian friends. I think Atlanta, I don't know. I think I might have just been in the wrong area, but I don't think I found one Nigerian friend. I don't think I did. My best friend is Haitian, but she's not Nigerian. So yeah, I think because like geography, it's just been difficult to like find people. Now that I'm back in Houston, I'm back with my Nigerian friends. But yeah, that's how my life has kind of progressed. It's just that internalizing that message informed a lot of the way that I lived. So yeah.
And then, do you have any advice for your younger self?
I wish I had known that Black wasn't a monolith.
Yeah.
I have known, because I think that like even now, like I think I'm still trying to learn this. That like, because I think I have like a huge imposter syndrome, even with my page, of being like, Dayo, you're Nigerian. Like, what do you know about Black culture? Like, why are you doing? Who do you think you are to be talking about something that you're still learning as well? Like, I'm still learning Black culture. I grew up with my parents were great, and they let us listen to like stuff like Destiny's Child and Jennifer Hudson. Like, we got to listen to Black music, but that's the extent of which I feel like I know Black culture. It stops there. Even with Black movies, like I don't know a lot of Black movies. The first time I ever watched like classics like The Wiz was like 2 weeks ago. It's like I had to learn Black culture. I just kind of wish that I had known that I'm Black and I have a right to, not necessarily a right to, but I get to enjoy Black American culture, and you guys have the privilege and the honestly the authority to enjoy Nigerian and other cultures that are part of your heritage as well. So yeah, I wish I had known that.
Yeah, it's
So,
funny
yeah.
that you mentioned movies though, because I think sometimes, like, I'm the youngest in my family, and I feel like my older sister, well, I have two older sisters, but my one older sister is 5 years older than me. So like we like grew up together. My older sister's like she's old enough that like we didn't grow up in the same house, if that makes sense. But they showed my older sister like all these like classic movies, and then like by the time I came along, they just kind of like assumed that, oh, like they showed Jasmine, like Camille should already like know.
Right.
So like The Wiz, I've never seen. And like I like will bring this up to like my friends at school. Like I do have like many more Black friends than like I did when I was growing up. But like they'll be like, oh my God, like why haven't you seen that? Like da-da-da. Even like the Boondocks recently. I like really got into watching the Boondocks. Like it's really funny. But like even if I watched it as a kid, I just wouldn't have understood the jokes. So I think
Honestly,
there's a lot of different parts of Black culture that not even just being like Black, but you have to like be in a certain environment to be able to
right.
in fully, if that makes sense, or eventually
That's so true.
learned. But yeah, that was like a little sidebar. But I'm super excited to talk to you about being Black and understanding the Enneagram. If you want to briefly give our listeners just an overview of what Enneagram is, and then we can actually go into our conversation.
Yeah, so the Enneagram is, I think, is one of the most unique and the coolest personality tests that are out there. It helps you identify. So, what a lot of times other personality tests will tell you what you do, but I think the Enneagram takes it 2 steps further. They tell you why you do what you do, and they tell you how to not, how to not fall into your like type pattern. And so, I think that's just so cool. Like, I'm a Christian, and so like for me, I'm also a one. So, being a Christian and a one is a whole mess. But I think it helps me to love the Enneagram because I'm like, oh, like I see how I can reform myself in the world through this tool. It's a tool. It isn't our identity. We don't put our identity in the Enneagram, but like it's a part of our personality. Like God has created us to be who we are, and for me, that's being a perfectionist or a reformer. Like, and that could change. Well, then my number can't change, but like that, like the way that is expressed could change. So I think the Enneagram is cool in that it just takes it a step further and tells you why and how you can be better. There's 9 types in total. And the thing is that also as well, the Enneagram is way more complex than a lot of other systems because they have wings, subtypes, triads, centers. Like it's just a lot. Like if you do a deep dive into the Enneagram, it's there's a lot. There's a lot there, and there's no like I don't think there's a box. There's no box. Like you can have if you're not a one, but if you had another one sitting next to me, we could have the exact same wing, exact same subtype, exact same everything, and be completely different people. Like it's just the way that the Enneagram explains it. The way other people explain it isn't the best because like we try to type people, but like the way the Enneagram tries to say it is like what matters is your individual story and your actual narrative, and not necessarily this is the box you fit in. I think we do that because we're humans and we try to like make things make sense by putting them in boxes. But I think the Enneagram is more useful when we see people through their stories rather than through their type. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
It is. Again, I found Dayo's Instagram during quarantine. I feel like I, like everyone else, was just spending much more time on the internet. And I'd never heard of Enneagrams before. I'd never heard of it. I literally Googled it and it was like a 9-sided shape or figure. And I was like, what? Pause. So then once I dove a little bit deeper on her Instagram page and I was like going through a lot of the posts, I realized that it was a personality test. And I love personality tests. I love learning more about myself. And although a lot of people, I don't know how to explain that. Like, I'm not comparing it to astrology whatsoever, but I do think that there's some truth to like certain things. So like when I take like the Myers-Briggs is like a huge personality test that like people take and like a lot of time in, like the corporate space, right? And like I do think that depending on your answers, there is some truth to like whatever you end up getting. So to be able to take this type of personality test and like you said, it didn't just tell me, you know, oh, this is your type, but it was like, okay, like literally, why do you act this way? And I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, why does this feel so personal?
Yeah, they invade your space really bad.
Like, give me back my throat. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. But how did you first like come across the Enneagram? Like what like sparked your interest in it?
Yeah. So I want to kind of comment on what you said about like I think one thing you are the audience, like the people, like you are the people who I want to reach, because I feel like so within the Black community a lot of people use astrology, use their signs or numbers, their signs, but I feel like the Enneagram, like it actually helps like build a healthy community when it's done right. So I would like, my goal and my like desire is like for the Enneagram to become just as big or just as important as astrology in the Black community, especially the Black community, because I really think that it could be helpful. I think people use astrology to like say, oh, I can't be friends with Cancers, I can't be friends with Like that's not the point of the Enneagram. When you do that, you're sad.
He's like, yeah.
Wait, I was like, that's so crazy. Me too.
That's why I like you. See that? Like you clicked right when we got on the call is because you're
right.
But it might really be because you're a type 1. I don't know.
Right. See, this is the crazy thing about all of this. This is like, I think that when we say, oh, I can only be friends with certain numbers or certain types, like it kind of limits our world. Like I just don't think that's a healthy way to look at things. I think I remember someone told me like, I can't date you, you're sad. I said, what? You don't even like, you haven't even had a conversation with me, and like that's, you're already coming to that conclusion. I think that can be a very unhealthy thing. I think the Enneagram done right can kind of combat that, and it can show you like, no, like that's not the way that things work. But sorry, I just forgot your whole question. Why am I this way?
It's because you got excited that I was a Sag. But what, like, how did you first come
across the
Enneagram?
Yes. Okay. I came across Enneagram in 2019. My friend Hannah was, she just introduced it to me when I was going through something. We were going to church together and we were doing life together. She showed it to me and she was we were using it to help me get out of this like really, really bad funk that I was in. So that's kind of where I learned about it. And I think the way I found my type was that I took a test. It's important to know that I'm in the body triad, I'm in the gut triad, and so I just kind of feel like I know things intuitively. So it didn't take me a long time to find my type. So when I read it, I was like, oh, duh, like there's no question here. So it didn't take me very long to find my type, but I found it because my friend, who was a white woman, this is to be honest, like the Enneagram has been saturated and taken over by white Christians, and so if you find it, you're probably going to find it through, most likely, you're probably going to find it through one of your white friends, one of your Christian friends. Like that's just the way that it's happening right now. But yeah, that's kind of how I found it. And then if you want to know the whole story of how I got here to the Black Enneagram, that's a whole different beast on its own. But yeah.
So, well, yeah, let's tap into it. So,
yeah,
you start the Black Enneagram because you first found it through a white woman, or just something separate?
Yeah, no. So I found it and I started looking into it. I got into the Instagram space on the Enneagram Instagram space. And I was like, where are all the Black people? And so I was just like, it just made me uncomfortable. So I stopped learning about it and I just put it to the side and I just went on with my life. And then I took a class called Creativity and Innovation in Business my senior year in 2020, beginning of 2020. And for that class, we had a project where we're supposed to do like, find something in the world that's around you that is novel and innovative, no one has done before. Obviously, there's nothing new under the sun, but like to me, it was new. And so that was my project. This whole thing was started as a school project.
What?
Yeah, that was the point of it at the beginning. And so yeah, after that, after the class ended, I kind of let it go for a minute because like, oh, I got my A. That's great. I'm done. Like, I'm good. And then the pandemic hit, and I had a bunch of time, and I got my iPad. I got an iPad for my graduation present because I graduated 2020, and I was like, well, might as well just spend all this time making art. And so even like the art that I make under it, it's not even like, I'm not an artist. I don't call myself an artist. That's just like what people are actual artists. I'm a glorified tracer. I trace and I color things in. I am not an artist. So I say that because artists are very important people. We need them. I don't want to I misidentify myself, but that's kind of how I do it. Is I just take pictures on Pinterest. That's also why I don't sell them. I take pictures on Pinterest, on the internet, and I just color on top of them and I post them. And so yeah, it started off as me, and this is important because it made me really mad. It started off, I think the minute I realized that when I saw that none of the Enneagrammers were posting Black TV shows, I was like, this is discrimination because I need this in my life. And why can't I find a typing for a different world or whatever show, like a Black show, but I can find 10,000 typings of Friends, like all these office, like everyone's typing the same shows. No one is going outside of the branch and looking for things that don't fit into their culture. And I'm like, this is kind of problematic. And so that was also another thing that sparked my, let me try to do this on my own. And what do you call those people who take initiative? I know it wasn't perfect. It was not perfect at all. Like when I started, if you look at I didn't delete anything. I literally just like let everything start from scratch. And I was like, this is gonna look bad at the beginning. And I'm just gonna let it grow from there. So yeah.
Well, it grew so much.
Yeah.
Like, was that like, well, so I feel like my question is like both sides, so bear with me. So I'm like starting to get into like this creator space, and like even this, I started this show because of 2020 and like all the police brutality, and like my heart just hurt, and I don't know, something compelled me to. It was initially like an IGTV series on my Instagram, and I was just like talking about different like spaces that I found myself in. I talked about like being Black at a PWI, because I'm an engineer, and like thank you, and just like like spaces that I found myself in that I felt being a Black woman, affected.
Yeah.
And then, my friends were like, you should really make YouTube. You should like have guests on. You should do all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And
right.
Now officially just like started an Instagram for this show, the Being Black Pop. And like, I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist at all, but I do like almost like too much time to plan things. Like I feel like they have to have like a perfect rollout for me to feel comfortable with them. And my friends encouraged me to like not do that, because that's
right.
I started this. I posted my first episode of just me talking, like the introduction, December 21st of 2020.
Wow.
I like knew that I wanted to do this in October, but I was like, oh, like I'm just gonna wait, and I'm just gonna figure it out and like record a bunch of videos and whatever. So like outside of the Enneagram, do you have any advice for creators that are just like trying to start something? Because I mean, blow up the way that like your Instagram has, but like if you give me some advice, like what held you to start?
Right. I mean, that's the thing that's crazy about my page is that when I didn't want it to grow as fast as it did. I think I need in my life a slow burn. I think I can appreciate things better when they're like, oh, okay, it took me time. I had to grow this. I just that's just how my personality is. I think that good things take time. And so when something just like blows up, I'm like, oh, there's something wrong. Like, that's like I'm skipping steps. I'm skipping, the process. I didn't like that. But so I think a big part of what made my page grow was timing. Like you said, like we were in the heat of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, like Ahmaud Arbery, like we were in the heat of that, and people were doing their Easter egg. I'm just rooting for everybody Black. We're the Black people. We just try to root for them, and we're just there for them. We don't care. We really don't care. Their costume is good. Their costume is bad. We're just trying to support, and even white people were trying to do it. White people were trying to support Black people, and so I feel like it was just like divine timing. Like God just was like, okay. And what's crazy about this? I don't know if you're a believer or not, but like, I did not sit here and like pray. Well, I used to do this a lot and pray and fast. I'm like, oh God, please tell me if this is the right thing to do. Like, I don't want to be. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And if God blesses it, then God blesses it. And if He doesn't, oh well. Like, I'm just gonna do it because I want to do it. Mm-hmm. I think that the thing that has helped me to stay, because I took like a 2-week hiatus, and I was really contemplating, like, let me just stop here. Let me just let the page die here. So I was just like, what am I doing this for? And I think the thing that has helped me to continue is like, no, I actually love the community that this has brought me. Like, this has brought me so much community and so many friendships. And that to me, and I mean, and I think also it's benefiting a lot of people. People always message me like, oh my gosh, so glad you started the page. And I'm like, oh, this is actually helping people. That's all I want in my life, is to be, I'm a weak too. So like that helper part of me is always going to keep me here. Because I also love what I do. I think that I'm probably maybe one of 2 people that I know who are doing like Black art. Maybe one of 2. Yeah, who's doing Black art for the Enneagram. So I just feel like I have like a responsibility to be here. So my advice was to say, trust timing. I think that the time will come when you will blow up, if you are meant to blow up. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect it. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't want it, to be honest. So that might have helped it when it happened, you know, for me to be like, oh, okay, like this isn't terrible. Just like kind of accepting your lot in life and being like, okay, this is where God has me. If you're a believer, if you're not, that's fine. But you know, as a Christian, me learning to accept, okay, this is where God has me. And honestly, the thing that's insane is that this page is what got me into Berkeley. Like, it's genuinely what got me into the school. So that timing thing, it goes beyond just the page. Like, it's literally like I needed this to get me to where I'm supposed to be going. So timing was huge. Also, people say it's a lot, consistency, you know, like the basics, like the basics for like posting often, posting in a healthy way. Rest is important, but like posting as consistently as you can. Quality content, I've realized, like, I even like watching my page, like watching what gets a lot of likes, what doesn't get a lot of likes, like pay attention to that. Don't do it for that, but like if you're something you're posting is getting a lot of likes and you actually enjoy doing that, continue that and probably go along that vein instead of other things that you may think people want but they don't actually want. But yeah, I think that those are my kind of sporadic, unorganized tips. Hopefully I don't leave anything out. If anything comes up to mind again, I'll probably message you and be like, oh yeah, this.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
That's something that I think when I started this, my goal, well, I had 2 goals. My first goal was simply to storytell the Black experience and explain that it is not one thing.
Mm-hmm.
My experience is just as valid and important as another person's experience, but we are Black and we have, you know, that shared experience. And 2, just to be able to talk to new people. And I think I've been able to get to a point that, you know, I'm able to talk to people like you. And it's not even, now I'm getting to the point, which I think is cool and I get like very giddy about, is that like some people have like actually reached out to me to be like, hey, like your episodes, like I would love to be a guest. And I was like, oh my God, like email. That's so
right.
So I think regardless of whether, you know, blows up and like a billion people, I always be like, oh my gosh, like you just need Oprah to notice you. And I was like, if I wait on Oprah, again, Oprah, if you're watching,
I'm dead.
But I was like, if I wait on Oprah bomb, like I'm gonna be waiting.
Right.
For a long time. Oprah has other things to be doing. You know?
Yeah. That's such a good point.
I don't know. I've been really enjoying this process and enjoying your art. And actually, let me guess you a little bit. You're actually one of I have like 10 Instagrams that I actually like have notifications on for.
Whoa.
Instagrams.
That's an honor.
Like, I really don't, like, I normally turn off, like, or I had my Instagram notifications off for a while.
Yeah.
I found your page and I was like, this is so cool. And it's, you like actually do it like based off of like TV shows. Like I like where this entire concept was like very new to me. But I want to hear more about your personality type and your subtypes.
Yeah.
So can you break down who you are to the viewers and the listeners?
Oh gosh, who am I? So of course, bigger than a number, but I think that, so my type is, I'm a type 1. And a lot of times people name the type 1 the perfectionist, but I am not a perfectionist. Well, I don't think that I am. People might say that I am, but I don't think that I am. It comes like a larger, like big picture kind of perfection. Like I want to see the world be good. I want to see the world be better, not necessarily like, oh, like, I mean, I think I want to be perfect, or I've wanted a lot of times for a while to be perfect, but like I think my perfectionism and my desire for like organized or orderliness comes from like an overarching picture. Like if you look at my room right now, like I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not a type 1, a stereotypical type 1 room. And so it's been interesting to see how like I'm also a social subtype. I think that's why. I think that your subtype says more about who you. I think that the subtype helps you understand yourself more than the type does, because the type can be very, depending on what you're reading, can be very rigid. And so sometimes you won't identify, even with some things that I post. Like it won't identify with everyone because I might be focusing on a certain subtype, or the person that I'm typing, who I say is a 1, might be a different type of subtype of 1. So like, yeah, like I think knowing your subtype is probably more important than knowing your type. You need to know, obviously you need to know both. You need to know your type to know your subtype, but yeah, I think that's been the biggest driving force for me. Knowing my subtype has helped me realize, oh, okay, this is why I, call my friend. Like if I'm coming in town, I call my friend and ask, can I stay with you first before I go and try to book a hotel? That's just small things. Like why do I operate the way I operate? Because I kind of think the world needs to take care of each other. So yeah, I think that's a big part of the way that my type shows up. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, you did. But we're going to wrap up this episode. So is there anything else that you would like the viewers/listeners to know?
I think just in general, just trust the process. Like if you are a creative, if you're doing anything that's like, you want to be groundbreaking, you want to change the world, like genuinely just like trust and enjoy the process. Actually like what you're doing. If you're a creative, like, if you're doing it for like clout, for likes, for comments, like that's not, I don't know. Like I think there's value to it, but then it's unhelpful when it comes to like satisfaction and like contentment in life. If you just like it and you're doing it just because you love it and you have quality and you're, working on quality content. I mean, look, I think like you could really come out of this. I think I might have heard someone say the process is more important than like the product. Mm-hmm. Like your product could be great, but like how you got there matters. So yeah, like just enjoy and trust the process.
I also just peeped that you're wearing your Berkeley Law sweatshirt.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. So you started?
Yes. I'm starting in the fall. Yeah, we just came back. Me and my family just came back from a visit. We just visited the school this week. So like Sunday to Wednesday, we just got back yesterday.
Oh my gosh, are you so excited?
Yeah, I am. We didn't get to tour because COVID, but like just being in the Bay, I was like, oh, this feels like home. And I'm excited to live here for the rest of my life. I'm not coming back to Houston.
Oh yeah, you out? You gonna catch a one-way ticket? Okay.
Yes. I'm not coming back. So yeah.
I respect that. I've never been to California, and I really hope that I can go there eventually.
Yeah.
Once, I won't even say like when things get back to normal, because I don't think things get back to normal, but once it's safer, quote unquote, to travel places, California is definitely.
Right.
I'm going to put the Black Enneagram Instagram in the description box, and even a test link if you want to know your personality type.
Yes.
Take the test. If you want to comment down below what your personality type is, I will engage with you in the comments. I don't know too much about the personality types, but I would love to learn about whatever you guys found out about yourself. And again, Dayo, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me. You're so cool. And I'm happy that you are a type 1 and you're a Sagittarius.
Wow. Yes.
So until next time, please like and subscribe and download and like this podcast as well, and leave a podcast rating if you want to make me smile. But until next time, bye.